The suitcase lay open on the floor, half filled with clothes that still smelled like the home she was no longer allowed to call hers, and the door slammed with a finality that echoed through her bones. In that moment, she understood that love, when measured by conditions, could vanish faster than it was given. She stood there, numb, realizing that infertility had become her crime and marriage her sentence. Before the story unfolds any further, take a second to pause. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that happen when compassion meets pain, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Her name was Anaya, and until that night, she had believed endurance was a virtue that could save anything. For 6 years, she had lived in a marriage where silence spoke louder than affection and expectation hung heavier than love. Every doctor visit, every whispered prayer, every festival reminder of children laughing in courtyards had slowly carved away at her sense of worth. When the verdict came again and again that motherhood might never arrive for her, her husband's disappointment hardened into resentment. What began as distance turned into blame, and blame into cruelty masked as practicality. He wanted a future that looked impressive to society, and she no longer fit the picture. Thrown out without ceremony, Anaya walked into the night carrying not just a suitcase but the weight of shame society loved to assign to women like her. She rented a small, dim room near the edge of the city, a place where the walls were thin and the windows refused to let much light in. Each morning, she woke before sunrise, not because she had somewhere to go, but because sleep had become a place where memories attacked without mercy. She found work at a modest cafe near a corporate district, serving coffee to people who never noticed her trembling hands or tired eyes. Yet even in that routine, there was dignity. She showed up, she endured. The city around her moved fast, indifferent to broken hearts. Towering glass buildings reflected ambition and success, mocking her fragile attempts to rebuild. Some days she wondered if being invisible was safer than being seen, because being seen had once led to rejection. Still, there was a quiet resilience inside her, a stubborn ember that refused to die. She saved every coin she could, not for dreams, but for survival. Hope, at that stage, felt too extravagant. One rainy afternoon, soaked clouds pressed low over the city, and the cafe was unusually crowded. Executives rushed in and out, umbrellas dripping, conversations clipped and urgent. Anaya moved between tables, focused on not spilling, not stumbling, not drawing attention. That was when she noticed him, though she did not yet understand the significance of that moment. He sat alone by the window, shoulders tense, eyes distant, wearing the calm authority of someone used to control. There was a child's backpack beside his chair, small and worn, an odd contrast to his tailored suit. He returned often after that day, always polite, always quiet, always with a faint tiredness clinging to him. Anaya learned from overheard fragments that he was the CEO of a fast-growing company housed just across the street. A single father, whispered rumor said, after his wife passed away years earlier. He would sometimes glance at the door as if expecting someone small to burst in laughing, but no one ever did. Anaya felt an unexpected connection to that look of absence, the shared familiarity of loss. Weeks turned into months, and though they rarely exchanged more than nods and brief courtesies, something unspoken grew in those small, ordinary moments. He noticed how she worked longer shifts without complaint, how she smiled gently at elderly customers, how she flinched when others spoke harshly. She noticed how his phone background held a child's drawing, how exhaustion softened his sharp edges. 2 wounded lives circled each other without knowing it. One evening, as the cafe prepared to close, a sudden storm knocked out the power. Darkness swallowed the room, and confusion rippled through the remaining customers. In the chaos, Anaya slipped, her tray crashing, coffee spilling across the floor. The sound felt louder than it was, and humiliation rushed in hot and suffocating. She froze, expecting anger, expecting the familiar sting of being told she was careless, insufficient. Instead, she felt a presence steady the chair beside her, helping her up, shielding her from sharp words. That night did not change her life immediately, but it shifted something deep inside her. For the first time in years, she felt seen without judgment. Over the following days, the world seemed slightly less heavy, When her landlord announced a sudden rent increase she could not afford, panic returned with cruel force. She packed again, this time unsure where she would go. The city that once promised opportunity now felt like a maze designed to trap the vulnerable. It was on one such desperate morning, her suitcase once again at her feet, that fate intervened with quiet boldness. The CEO, whose name she learned was Raghav, noticed her distress as she stood outside the cafe, eyes hollow, rain threatening again. He listened as she explained her situation in broken fragments, not asking questions that would reopen wounds, not offering pity. He simply saw a woman on the edge of losing everything. What followed felt unreal, like a scene borrowed from someone else's life. Raghav offered her a chance to come with him, not as charity, not as obligation, but as an opportunity. He needed someone trustworthy to help manage his household, to be a steady presence for his young daughter who struggled with silence after her mother's death. It was not framed as rescue, but as mutual need. Anaya hesitated, fear battling hope, but something in his calm sincerity quieted her doubts. The house she stepped into was nothing like the cold spaces she imagined wealth would create. It was large, yes, but filled with warmth, sunlight spilling across wooden floors, laughter lingering faintly in corners. His daughter, Mira, watched Anaya with cautious curiosity at first, eyes guarded yet longing. Anaya understood that look. She knelt to the child's level, offering patience instead of affection, space instead of expectation. Slowly, day by day, Mira began to open, her silence softening into smiles, her fear melting into trust. In caring for Mira, something profound healed inside Anaya. She was not trying to replace anyone, not trying to prove anything. She simply loved, freely and without demand. She helped with homework, listened to stories, soothed nightmares. The ache of infertility did not disappear, but it transformed. She realized that motherhood was not confined to biology, that nurturing could bloom in many forms. For the first time since her marriage ended, she felt whole. Raghav watched this transformation quietly. He saw his daughter laugh again, saw light return to his home, saw Anaya grow stronger, more confident, her posture no longer bent under invisible burdens. He learned pieces of her past gradually, respecting the scars without probing them. In her resilience, he found inspiration. In her kindness, he found peace. Challenges did not vanish simply because circumstances improved. Society's whispers followed her, old wounds reopened when memories surfaced, and doubt sometimes crept in late at night. But she was no longer alone. She began studying again, encouraged to pursue the education she once abandoned. She discovered talents she never had the space to explore. Each step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of herself stolen by years of blame. Time passed, gentle and steady. The bond between them deepened naturally, built not on grand declarations but on shared mornings, quiet dinners, and mutual respect. Love arrived not as a storm, but as sunrise, gradual and undeniable. When Anaya finally understood that she was loved not despite her infertility but regardless of it, something inside her settled into peace. Her past no longer defined her. The woman who once stood abandoned in the dark had become someone anchored in purpose and dignity. She realized that being thrown out had not been an ending, but a painful beginning that led her toward a life richer than she could have imagined. The single dad CEO who once asked her to come with him had not saved her. He had simply opened a door she was brave enough to walk through. Just before this story ends, we want to hear from you. Please comment below and tell us what part of Anaya's journey resonated with you the most, or share a message of hope for someone who might be struggling right now. In the final moments of this chapter of her life, Anaya stood watching Mira play in the garden, laughter floating in the air, sunlight warm on her face. Gratitude filled her chest, quiet and profound. She knew now that worth was not assigned by others, and love was not something to beg for. It was something that found you when you least expected it, often after everything familiar had been taken away. If this story touched your heart, if it stirred something emotional within you, or reminded you that kindness can change lives, please like the video, share it, and leave a heartfelt comment. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who need them. Sometimes one story is enough to remind someone that their pain is not the end, but the beginning of something beautifully unexpected.